about 1 minute at 5 o'clock. Thank you all so much for being here, and we'll start shortly.
Buenas tardes a todos. Vemos que ya hay 20 personas que han ingresado y nos hace falta 1 minuto para las 5 de la tarde y vamos a iniciar en punto a las 5. Gracias por haberse unido temprano.
Right, and it is now 5 o'clock. Welcome, everybody. I see that we have about 31 folks who are logged on to tonight's meeting. So I think we're in a good spot to get started. Thank you all for being here tonight and welcome to the 47th Arvin and Lamont CSC meeting. Before we start tonight's meeting, I'd love to welcome in Tanya from Linguistica to share some interpretation instructions. Welcome, Tanya.
Thank you. Buenas tardes a todos. Bienvenidos a su reunión nuevamente. Queremos recordarles que como siempre tenemos interpretación simultánea disponible para ustedes si necesitan escuchar la reunión en español. Si ingresaron con una computadora, en la parte de abajo del menú de Zoom van a ver el icono de un mundo. Por favor, seleccionen ese icono y seleccionen el canal de español. Y también pueden silenciar el audio original para que nada más escuchen al intérprete. Si ustedes ingresaron con un teléfono móvil o con una tableta, sus opciones se van a ver un poco diferente. Necesitan tocar su pantalla y buscar el menú de los 3 puntitos que dice más o more, usualmente en la parte de arriba o abajo de su dispositivo. Seleccionen donde dice interpretación de idioma. Después seleccionen español. Nuevamente, silenciar el audio original. Y por último, el botón que diga done, listo, finalizado o terminado. Si necesitan ayuda, pueden dejar sabernos en el chat para que podamos ayudarles. Y ahora vamos a dar esas mismas instrucciones, pero en inglés. Hello, everyone. Welcome to your meeting. This is just a reminder that, as usual, we have simultaneous interpretation for this meeting. So if you're a monolingual English speaker, we do ask you to please select the English channel. That way you can have the interpretation simultaneously from Spanish into English. If you're joining with a computer, you will see a globe at the bottom of your screen. Please select the globe and select English. If you're joining with a cell phone or a tablet, your options will be a bit different. You need to tap your screen and find the menu with the 3 dots, either on top or at the bottom of your screen. Select language interpretation, select English, and then select done. If you have any questions or if you need any help, you can let us know in the chat to be able to assist you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Tanya. Appreciate the instructions. This is Maddie. And so we'll take a quick moment to pause just to make sure that everybody can get into the channel that they'd wish to hear the rest of tonight's meeting. And as we pause here, just wanted to share a quick reminder to please speak slowly and state your name prior to speaking. And this is only just to ensure that folks in the Spanish channel can follow along who's speaking, as often speakers change throughout the meeting. So thank you, everybody, for your consideration there. And so as your facilitators, part of our role is to work behind the scenes to take attendance. We also offer some technical assistance and general support to ensure that everyone is able to fully engage in tonight's meeting. If at any point during the meeting you're having trouble with Zoom, free to message myself or my colleague Liz in the chat, and we'll be happy to help. So our next slide that we have here is information about our naming conventions. We use these naming conventions because they do help with attendance tracking and tracking for the stipend distribution process. For CSC members, we ask that you please put the letter CSC on your Zoom name. And for residents who are a part of the stipend program, please also add the letter R to your Zoom name. If you're not able to change it, you might see Liz or myself update your name at some point throughout the meeting. And again, it's just to make sure that we're tracking everybody who's with us tonight. For others who are joining us tonight, starting with our agency partners, we also ask that you include your agency in your Zoom name. And for members of the public who are joining as well, we ask that you indicate that in your Zoom name by putting the letter P. And this also just helps us track who's with us tonight and who to call on during our public comment period at the end. So we also have the instructions here in Spanish if anyone would like to take a peek here. Next, we have our virtual meeting etiquette, and I know this is something that is often familiar for folks, so we'll go through this pretty briefly, but we'll have the screen available for your review. We do ask that folks stay muted unless you're speaking, and if you're calling on the phone, you can unmute yourself by pressing *6. That works to both mute and unmute. If you have a question or a comment, we ask that you raise your hand. And if you're calling on your phone, you can press *9 to raise your hand. We have a reminder for residents who are also a part of the stipend program. We ask for you all to stay online for about 90 minutes or 75% of tonight's meeting to qualify for the stipend program. Next, we have a review of the group agreements, and similarly to the past slide, I know this is something that we've seen a couple of times, so I'll leave the screen here for your review and do a quick walkthrough. We hope that these feel familiar to folks, and we won't go through each one, but we ask that you take a moment just to review and keep them in mind as we go through tonight's meeting. And next we have tonight's agenda, where we have time for our welcomes and our introductions. That will be followed up by an action items tracker review. Next will be the presentation on the air monitoring update, another presentation on the SERP incentive measures, our standing updates, wrapping up in space for public comment. I'll stop sharing my screen here for a moment and officially welcome everybody into tonight's meeting. Thank you for being here. We do have a quick announcement before we welcome in our co-leads. We wanted to make a very quick announcement about the 1099s. We know that some folks have been asking some questions, and we wanted to share that you should each have received a 1099 in your email or by regular mail. And if you have not received this yet, we ask that you leave us a comment in the chat, or if you wish to discuss this with us, we ask that you hold on to your question until the meeting officially ends, and we can stay on to address your questions. And we'll remind you of this at the end of the meeting as well. So with all of that said, welcome everybody. My name is Maddie, and I'm joined by my fellow facilitator, Liz. Amy is out tonight, so if you have any trouble throughout tonight's meeting, please feel free to let Liz or myself know in the chat, and we're happy to help. At this time, I'd like to welcome in our co-leads, Bianca and Cesar, to share some opening remarks. Bianca or Cesar, would one of you like to go first?
Yeah, just want to thank everyone and point out the air monitoring update, and I think we're going to be able to get to see the levels of air quality in the last year and compare it to the year before. So I encourage anyone that has questions or would like to know a little bit more about some of these pollutants and the time of year that they spike to please feel free and ask that during the meeting.
Thanks so much, Cesar. Bianca?
I did wanted to echo a lot what Cesar was mentioning, and also the importance that monitoring is part of the AB 617 process. So having an amazing update from the Air District is important to advocate for our community and what ways we could help out with the SERP incentive. So I do appreciate that the Air District is making this possible, and all the key players that are here. Thank you.
Thank you both for setting us up for some good engagement with tonight's presentations. I'd also like to welcome in Stephanie from the Air District to share some opening remarks as well.
Thanks, Maddie. This is Stephanie. Hi, good evening, everyone, and thank you all so much for joining. I couldn't have said it better than Cesar and Bianca because I also just wanted to highlight the air monitoring update that we have today and just highlight that it's such an important piece of what we're doing in AB 617. So kind of excited to take a dive into the data. And I will also be providing some updates also, of course, on some of the CERT measures that we're working on moving forward. So looking forward to tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. Alrighty, so this is Maddie. At this time, I'm happy to transition us to the next agenda item, which is the action item review. You'll see that Nancy has linked it in the chat for your access. So as we know, to help facilitate just continued transparency, continued accountability, our team in the Air District have been working on a continuous and systematic process to update the action item tracker to ensure that the community's requests are documented and that everyone's staying informed on the progress towards implementing your suggestions. As Nancy provides updates, please feel encouraged to ask for clarification, and anything that can't be answered tonight will come back in a future CSC meeting. So with that said, I'm happy to pass it over to you, Nancy. Welcome.
This is Nancy. Hi, everybody. I think you have seen my face maybe a few times, but I'm not sure. Just wanted to introduce myself. So my name is Nancy, and I work here at the Air District. My department is the Community Strategy and Resources Department, and I am also the South Central Fresno Community Liaison, and I will be here to support the Arvin Lamont community. And so if you have any questions, please direct them towards me or one of us from the Air District. After the action items, I'll go ahead and just link my phone number, my work phone number, and my email, just in case you need to reach me for any questions, or if you're interested in any of our outreach materials as well. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. Can everybody see that? The action items? Perfect. Thank you so much. All right, so these action items are a routine check-in on some of the action items from the last meeting. And so we do have a few to go through. So let's begin. We can start off in the in progress section right here. All right, so this first action item is in regards to updating the CSC with the emissions reduction estimations for the passenger vehicle replacement program. And so the district is working on these calculations right now. And as soon as they are available for this measure, the district will update this data in the CERP tracker and share with the CSC. And just a quick little note with the CERP trackers, they are updated monthly and they are available on the Arvin Lamont community page. And so the next action item is in regards to the Air District, reaching out to businesses identified by CSC members as potential participants in the public electric vehicle charging infrastructure program. And so the district has reached out to local agencies to discuss if they are interested in this program. And so with the help of the CSC, if you all have any additional agencies or businesses that we should reach out to, please let us know by dropping it in the comments in the chat or emailing us or even a phone call. The next action item, this one is in regards to providing a comprehensive update on the passenger vehicle replacement program in 6 months so we can assess the program progress. And so we will be able to provide an update at a later future meeting. The next action item is geared towards Caltrans. And so a representative will be providing an update on the proposed construction dates and other action items at the next CSC meeting. And so currently Caltrans representatives are working to bring a brief update on the proposed construction along the 184 in Lamont. The next action item is the Air District and Current Energy will follow up with CSR and the CSC regarding a revised fence line monitoring plan and adding pollutant reference points to the publicly accessible database. And so district is coordinating with CSR on questions regarding fence line monitoring plan and will work with Current Energy to address them. The next section is going to be the completed section right here. And so the first action item under completed is the Air District will follow up with the City of Arvin to review contracts for paving projects. And so district is finalizing contracts for paving projects with the City of Arvin. The district and City of Arvin will provide updates on project progress as it becomes available. Next, CCEJN and the Air District will follow up with the CSC members to discuss outreach and engagement strategies and identify a date for the outreach subcommittee. And so we did send out an email with March 18th as the date for the outreach subcommittee. And if you're interested, please join us. I will go ahead and send out a reminder email as well, just so it is not forgotten. Next, the Air District will move forward with reallocating $300,000 of funds to the residential lawn and garden program. And so this reallocation has already taken place and it came from heavy duty truck replacement measure. And so this was added to the residential lawn and garden program. And so we're actually going to be discussing the residential lawn and garden program a little further later on for a different presentation. Next, the Air District will connect with a new Caltrans representative to orient them to the AB 617 implementation process. And so district met with Caltrans representative to discuss AB 617 program implementation and ways for Caltrans to engage with CSC. And lastly, we have a ongoing action item. And so this is in regards to opportunities for reallocation CERT funds to priority measures. And of course, the district will continue to work with the CSC for any necessary funding reallocations. And so that concludes the action items for today. And I'm happy to take any questions. And if you don't want to verbalize your questions, please, you can always just drop them down in the chat. I'll go ahead and stop sharing my screen momentarily just to ensure that we don't have any more or that we don't have any questions right now.
Thank you so much, Nancy, for the review. I see we do have a question from Gabriela and Jose.
Sí, buenas tardes. Nada más mi comentario o mi pregunta es acerca de que se está haciendo la resignación de fondos para las cortadoras de césped. Y yo sé que en la última junta que tuvimos, comenté que estaba yo de acuerdo para eso. Pero también quería preguntarles a ustedes si ustedes le están dando seguimiento a eso en la forma de que si ustedes se han comunicado con la comunidad para ver si están usando las máquinas o hay manera de que ustedes están revisando que sí está habiendo una reducción de emisiones por ese programa que ya debe de estar implementado porque ya va a ser un año que se entregaron las primeras máquinas y todos los residentes que agarraron deben de estar usándolos. ¿Han ustedes dado seguimiento a eso y cómo?
Hi, this is Stephanie. Thank you for that question, Gabriela. I do have an update later today on the reallocation and kind of what we did after that reallocation took place. I hope it's okay. An early preview is we had the event and it went really well. But maybe if you don't mind, I'm happy to later today in my presentation give an update kind of all in big picture about kind of what we did following that funding reallocation. And if that doesn't answer your question, then I'm happy to take any other questions at that time.
Gracias.
Thank you so much, Gabriela, for your question. Are there any other questions coming up for CSC members? Okay. Don't see any hands. Oh, yes, go for it, Mario.
Yeah. I had a question for este, the the rules on people burning fires, saying they're burning their papers and stuff like that, and you send out flyers to educate the people. They cannot burn papers and leaves and stuff like that. My question is, what is the difference from the rules for the citizens and the rules for the corporations are burning the woods out in the farms? What's the difference? Because I noticed that they're doing more burning out there, and I don't see not very much people trying to to lower down their emissions. Their the smoke and all that stuff. I just was wondering what's why not burning, because they got to mulch, they got a machine to mulch it, and they still burning. I mean, I just do not understand that they still burning, and we're trying to fix up the problem, like that would be that much smog and stuff like that. And I wonder why there's nothing going on to stop it.
Yeah, thank you so much for your question, Mario. Stephanie, I see you unmuted.
Thanks. This is Stephanie, and then I'll take a stab at answering this, and then Team Heather or Maria or anyone else on my team, if there's anything you all want to add, please let me know. Like Mario noted, open burning is illegal. And so if you do see that kind of activity happening, we encourage you to, submit a complaint to us so that our team can investigate it. You kind of hinted, Mario, that it could be like I don't know if it's maybe like a farmer that you've kind of identified in the area.
There was a couple of fires that reported. Yeah, they're taking up the grapevines, and they're just piling up and burning them. And the thing is that there was a fire a while back, maybe a week ago, and they were burning plastics and some. It was a big old hole. They put trash and stuff like that. I've seen some plastic containers there. I don't know. It could be, maybe pesticides or whatever, barrels or whatever it was. But I was just wondering, because I didn't see nobody go out there to see, what's going on. Let's see if they, what they were burning.
Yeah.
Or maybe somebody caught it in fire. I don't know.
Yeah. This is Stephanie again. Agricultural burning is something that, kind of in the past, farmers can come to us and get permits for, but kind of in this space, as of 2025, we should see kind of most of that burning, those permits for open kind of agricultural burning be phased out. There might be some small exceptions, but really, I think, Mario, but like you're saying, kind of you all are the best eyes in the community. So if you all are seeing these things happening, definitely encourage you to submit a complaint to us as soon as you see it happen, because if you wait if you see it happen, you wait a couple hours and then you give us a call or you submit it to us, that means that our inspectors are out there, several hours later and might not be able to confirm it and investigate that. So really being the eyes in the community, if you see something that you feel is, you want to submit a complaint to us and you feel something's not right, definitely let us know ASAP and our team will go out and investigate.
Yeah, because too, I was say that, I was seeing a burn. I was taking my daughter to the high school and I seen a burn, and I called it in, and I think I seen one of the guys out there, but they had like a truck out there, it looked like they was putting it out, but they were not putting it out. I thought it was a water truck, but after all, they didn't put out the fire. It was still going on. And I just want to know what type of investigation do you guys do? Do you go to see the action where the fire's at,
Yeah.
or do you guys take videos or pictures, or what kind of type of investigation you guys do?
Yeah, so this is Stephanie. Our team will go out, investigate, and they'll do kind of whatever they need to, whether or not it's like, grabbing pictures, videos, go out into the area that the complaint, if you have the exact location, that's the
Mhm.
most helpful thing because our team can go directly there. They don't need to drive around and kind of guess. And if it's the case, and they'll kind of investigate if it's any activity that kind of goes against any of our rules and regulations that we enforce here at the district, then they'd receive a violation. And so there'd just be an ongoing investigation to look into that.
Oh, and
So Stephanie, we will actually talk about filing a complaint during our air monitoring presentation too. So if folks have questions about that, I'm happy to dig into it as we get into the presentation as well.
I got one more, and I'll leave it like that. When you guys do investigation, do you have any openings for like saying like me, I want to tag along just to see how you guys do your investigation to learn something, educational, something to educate myself and.
This is Stephanie. That is a great question. And we've had that question before. For a variety of safety reasons, we really don't allow people to come on inspections with us because our staff is like formally and specifically trained to identify hazards and be really safe when they go on to do these inspections. Even for facilities, there's a lot of facilities that obviously for safety reasons won't, they just let our district team in. They wouldn't just let kind of lots of folks. But Mario, I hear your interest in maybe learning more about the inspection process. We can definitely at an upcoming meeting have some of our inspectors come to the meeting and discuss, show pictures, walk you through what that process looks like.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thanks, Mario. That's a great question.
Yeah, thank you both. And it sounds like an action item stemmed from that conversation. So bringing forth some inspectors to, share their insights on what these investigations look like and add some more background for folks. So I appreciate you asking that, Mario. I see we have a few questions that also trickled in, so just want to check in. I know, Stephanie, you also mentioned that there might be some more context shared later, but I see we have a question from Jesus. And after Jesus, we have a few in the chat that we'll turn to as well. So Jesus, go for it.
Thank you. I just wanted to quickly second what Mario was saying. These last couple of weeks, I have been seeing burning as well in the Lamont Arvin area. The one near Lamont, I did a report on, and there was follow through. I was told that it was, I think, well, from the nectarines right there, that there were some branches or something that were decayed or diseased, and it had to be burned. And then the second one was over a weekend. I don't remember if it was this last one or the previous one. But I left a voicemail, and I haven't seen a follow through from that one. But it was that one was between the nectarines and the grapevines. The grapevines looked set up like they were going to be burned. So I couldn't tell if it was the grapevines or if it was the nectarines. But just wanted to follow through with that. Thank you.
This is Stephanie. Thanks, Jesus. If you submitted a complaint, I definitely can have the team follow up. Sometimes the investigation takes some time so that they can look into things. And then once they complete that, they'll give you a call back. So they might still be in the process of investigating, but I can certainly work with our team to give you a call back and follow up on it.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question, Jesus. Another action just to follow up on the complaint and share back some info on where that is all at. I see a few more questions in the chat as well. I see one from Emma. Emma wrote, "Are ag burning permits published online?"
This is Stephanie. That is not something I know off the top of my head. I don't know if anyone else on my team knows. But if not, I can certainly reach out to our team and follow up with you, Emma.
Thank you, Stephanie. We'll also add that as another action item to follow up with. I also see that Lucia asked a question, and it looks like, Stephanie, you added the phone number there. So a couple of resources in the chat, the phone number that you can call when you see this type of burning. And then also Nancy sent along a link where you can file a complaint. So definitely check those out for being able to know what you're seeing out in your community. All right, and another thing from Cesar, just wanted to point it out before we move on. It looks like there might be a leadership council or a council where they will be hosting a community meeting on March 19th in Lamont, and he'll share some more information when we get to public comment. So just wanted to orient everyone to that, and it sounds like there's more info to come. Cool. Well, thank you everybody for your questions. I think we're at a good point to transition to the air monitoring update. And so in this presentation, the Air District is going to be sharing several updates regarding the status of your camp and asking for any insights that you can share and suggestions. You're going to see the data is presented by 2 quarters of the year, and then will also be presented in an annual comparison. So just wanted to give a heads up about what you'll be seeing. And as you listen to the presentation, we really do encourage you all to take note of any questions that you have, any comments, any insights, as there will be a Q&A session that will facilitate at the end of the presentation. And again, just really encourage you all to share your thoughts. So with that said, I'm happy to pass it to the Air District.
This is Stephanie. I'll maybe really quickly just introduce our team and just reiterate. I know there's so much that we do with SERP implementation meeting to meeting, and I think it's so important to have these opportunities to really look through the data. So ask questions. Our team will probably go through a few slides at a time and just pause and ask some questions. I also wanted to share, there might be, I think there's a few new faces in the group, or faces that you don't see every meeting. So I just wanted to welcome Brad Dawson and Alejandro Brambla. And I do believe I'm just scanning the room to see if I missed anyone. Those are our folks from our air monitoring team here to provide you an update, answer questions. So I'll go ahead and pass over to Brad and Alex.
Good evening. Good evening. I don't have a window, so I can't see where the sunlight is at in the hemisphere right now. My name is Brad Dawson. I am the supervisor for our community monitoring program here. That encompasses all of our AB 617 communities, as well as some special projects and some of the refinery monitoring that we have been doing, which actually is in Lamont, which is the dual site that we actually have as well at the Mountain View site. I'm going to be kicking this meeting off and just introducing Alejandro Brambilla. He is your specialist that maintains and operates all of the air monitoring equipment that we have in the Arvin, Lamont, Weed Patch area. And so with that, I'm going to kick it off to Alejandro. I'll be available in the chat to answer any questions that may come through as he's doing the presentation. And like Stephanie said, we'll go through a couple of slides, and if we see some hands raised or so, we can take a moment and address those questions as well. Alejandro?
Thanks, Brad. Good evening, everyone. So as Brad said, my name is Alejandro. I take care of the monitors at the Arvin Lamont community, and I'm going to be going over these slides for the presentation today. So this is just going to be a quick update. We're going to go over the status of your community. We're going to be reviewing the data collected. And of course, in the end, we're going to take any questions or comments you may have. Okay, next slide, please. So here's the community's current implementation plan. Currently, we have 5 sites that are operational. DeGiorgio and Comanche and Alicante are 2 sites in which we are still working on. The points on the map here are where the monitors are located, and on the chart to your right are what each location is monitored for. Next slide, please. So here are some of the actual monitors you can find throughout the community. On the left-hand side is a BAM 1022, and that measures PM 2.5. That can be found in El Camino Real Elementary. And in the center is an air pointer. Uh, that one houses multiple air monitors, in this case, sulfur dioxide and hydrogen sulfide. That one's located in Mountain View Middle School. And on the right-hand side is a trailer. That one houses a multitude of air monitors. That one's located at Arvin CSD. Next slide, please. So here is our mobile air monitoring van. This is available by request from the community, so long as there's an electrical power source nearby to hook up the van and a location that's safe. Next slide. So we are, of course, continuing to conduct localized air monitoring in the community. We are still looking for an acceptable location for a new PM 2.5 monitor near DeGiorgio and Comanche. And currently, we're working with the Lamont School District to deploy an air monitor at Alicante Elementary School. And as mentioned before, our air monitoring van is available to monitor pollutants in areas of interest. And also, what we are doing are lab analyses of air samples for PM 2.5 and volatile organic compound speciation, which is being conducted at the Arvin CSD trailer site twice a week. Next slide, please.
I'm sorry to interrupt your presentation, but just pausing as we did have a hand raised.
Oh, yes.
To pause and take a moment for that. Mario, go ahead.
Mario. Yes.
Yeah, I want to know if I could use one of your monitors to monitor at a certain location.
The monitors that we have are dedicated to the sites that were selected when we did this initial deployment, and we located like areas of interest that we wanted to get those monitors in. They're not really meant for to be checked out or anything like that, like a school library or anything like that. But if there is an area of location that you want a specific interest in, such as a certain area, we can try to get the van out there to get some more information for that specific area. But no, unfortunately, our monitors aren't out to be able to be checked out.
Yeah, like always. Anyways, yeah, I got a couple of locations I would like to have your van monitor to maybe a couple hours, just to use it for a couple hours. I don't want to use it all night or all day, you know, just a couple hours.
Yeah, we can connect after this meeting, or Stephanie, we can connect back with Mario and get those locations, and we can try to see if we can get something on the calendar that we can get out there.
Yeah, and two, I got another question about that. I want to know if I could use, maybe you said that you guys have a trailer monitor that you could leave out in a certain area?
All the monitors that we have require specific electrical needs. It can't just be trailered out and just dropped off. They require a significant amount of electrical infrastructure. And when we deployed the trailer over at the Arvin CSD location in the center of Arvin, that required a significant amount of electrical upgrades for that facility for us to even be there. So it's not something that we can just easily drive out and monitor. We do have the van that has that ability for certain pollutants, but for the trailers, no.
Yeah, because we got a couple of days that right here in Lamont, it's been smelling pretty bad, and it just it's coming from somewhere, and sort of I might know where it's at, but the point is that it happens at nighttime, like 1 o'clock, 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, around there. That's when all the smell, you can smell it right there in Lamont.
This is Stephanie. I was wondering, Nancy, can you go back a couple slides to the van? I actually think maybe if I could talk about it, the van for just 1 second and describe what it does when, when it's out in the community. And then Mario, I hope it gives you a good sense of kind of how we can use the van. So like Brad mentioned, the monitors that we kind of work together all as a community to kind of select those sites, those are monitors that stay at those locations for specific reasons. We like co-located them near sensitive receptors like schools. So they're serving an important purpose to keep monitoring near those areas. But we do have this cool mobile air monitoring van that we can drive out to certain areas when we kind of have concerns in the community that you're kind of mentioning. And typically, just to give you a sense, Brad mentioned it, but I'll just kind of re-emphasize. Typically, when this van goes out, we will have it out there for like a good period of a time, like a week, 2 weeks. That way it's monitoring consistently and we can see patterns. Like you're saying, Mario, maybe something's happening late at night, or maybe something is happening early in the morning. So we park it out there for a longer period of time so we can get a sense of what's happening kind of throughout the day. But like Brad mentioned, there's a couple things we need. We need a safe place to park this van. It can't just be like in the middle of, just like on the next to the street or something. We need to park it somewhere safe. And it also needs, Brad, correct me, it needs a plug as well, just to plug into like electrical to make sure that it's running. So those are some considerations to keep in mind.
What size plug do you need? 220 or 110 or? Because I got a friend of mine, he will lend me like a big old generator, mobile generator. But I could talk to him. Let's see if he could let me set maybe the van over there at that location.
I would not suggest running a diesel engine to try to monitor the air. The van does take 120, but at 30 amps. So that's usually some type of dedicated outlet. It does have its own small battery pack, so it can run on its own without it being mobile as well. So there is some flexibility, but yes, like Stephanie said, we definitely want to make sure that we don't want to just leave it parked out there in the middle of nowhere and it get vandalized. We actually have had that happen before, but that's not a reason why we can't go out there. We just want to make sure that we put a little bit of level of security, and the powering it up with a wall outlet or so is just to make sure that the instruments stay true, because they all have to be air conditioned and it does get hot. So
I got a friend of mine too. He's building what you call it, a solar panel type generator that don't use no emissions. It's just all with solar panels. Well, what size you said that the power it needs for it to power it?
30 amps at 120 volts.
30 volt. Okay.
Hey everybody, this is Maddie. I'm just jumping in. It sounds like there's some good conversation between Brad and Mario here about some specific details that I think are helpful for folks to be attuned to. And I think there will be more details that can hopefully add more pieces to the puzzle that you're asking, Mario. So I'm wondering if we're in a good spot to keep some parts of the presentation going.
Okay, yeah, no problem.
Perfect.
No problem. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mario, and thank you, Brad and Stephanie, for your responses. And just as a brief reminder to folks, we also have some dedicated space for Q&A as well. So we do invite you to share some questions at that time. So yeah, happy to pass it back to you, Alejandro. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, jumping back in. So some notable key points that summarize the air monitoring update are 2024 Q3 and Q4 PM 2.5 levels are slightly higher than 2023's. July 4th's fireworks, they had a dramatic impact on PM 2.5 levels. Those levels rose significantly, and a graph in the next few slides is going to help depict that. Weather conditions in December contributed to elevated PM 2.5 levels. And of course, the air monitoring data is available online at your community portal. Next slide. So onto the data side of things. This graph compares a quarterly PM 2.5 average between 2023 and 2024. This is from July through September of last year. July through September of last year in 2023. So the blue bars you see here represent 2023, the orange 2024. The striped bars to the right represent a nearby regulatory site, just for comparison. So the monitoring sites are also listed below under the bars. Also, there's a horizontal dotted line that goes through the bars. That's the new 2024 annual federal standard of 9 micrograms per meter cubed. So the takeaway from this is that 2024 levels for this quarter are slightly higher than 2023, and this is just a visual aid to help understand. And we'll discuss further in the upcoming slides. Next slide, please. So this is quarter 4, October through December. For this quarter, we see a similar trend to last quarter. However, PM values are noticeably higher due to the colder months when air is more stagnant. I also wanted to remind you guys that the 9 microgram, sorry, federal standard is for an annual evaluation, which you will see on the next slide. We simply added it here to help weigh these values. Next slide, please. So this graph shows the annual average for the entirety of the year 2024 compared to 2023. As we saw in the quarterly charts, the annual averages are slightly higher in 2024. It should be noted that the 9 microgram annual federal standard was just recently implemented last year. Prior to that, it was 12 micrograms, which all of these values would have been under. Next slide. So this graph depicts monthly averages for the past quarter 3 and quarter 4 for the community. As you can see, quarter 4 shows a higher PM value due to the colder winter months. All sites showed a similar trend. Next slide. So we've presented quarterly, annual, and monthly, and now we will look into the daily PM 2.5 average values. These are for the months of July through September. On the left-hand side is the PM 2.5 concentration. On the bottom of the graph are the dates for this data. Each data point you see here represents a daily PM 2.5 average. So for comparison, we've also included a gray shadow area showing 2023's daily PM maximum values. The multicolored background in the graph represents the different RAN levels, that is the real-time air advisory network levels, to help show the different air quality throughout the days. Sorry. On the bottom is a legend for those colors, and it indicates like the air quality. So for example, green is good, yellow is moderate, and so forth. Majority of days we saw good and moderate levels, with the exception of July 4th. That large peak you see here is due to the fireworks. Also at the 35 microgram level is the 24-hour federal standard. So with the exception of July 4th, the PM values remained below the 24-hour federal standard within the community. Next slide. So this is a continuation of the same chart, however, for quarter 4, October through December. A large part of the quarter we saw good and moderate levels. However, as you can see during the first week of December of last year, there was a period where levels reached the unhealthy level for sensitive groups. So for that period, local conditions were cold, dry, and stagnant. This caused PM 2.5 emissions to accumulate, coupled with strong nighttime inversions and minimal winds, trapping pollutants in the valley floor. So this resulted in higher pollution concentrations throughout during this time period, which resulted in a health advisory issued by the district on December 5th. Next slide, please. Here are some pictures during that time to get a sense of what high PM value days can look like. As many of you may recall, it was very hazy during that time period due to these stagnant conditions. So Yeah, well, that's actually it for my part. So I'll leave it open for any possible questions. And then if not, I can kick it over to Danny for the next part of the presentation.
Thank you, Alejandro, for your presentation. I see we have 2 questions coming up, starting with Cesar. And then after Cesar's question, we'll move to Jesus. So go for it, Cesar.
Yeah, thank you. Could you go back to the slide for the second? Yeah. The peak that's towards the end of November that you mentioned the health advisory was for is very similar, but much more widespread than um, the July 4th peak. Does that mean that during that time, folks were breathing air quality as if there was several days, if not more than a week, of air quality equivalent to July 4th?
Yeah, so as Alejandro mentioned earlier, each one point on this chart, which I know it's all aligned, so it kind of gets blurred out, is just one day's average. So when you saw that gigantic peak just for July 4th, that's only for July 4th, and the next day it goes back to kind of the normal levels. Obviously, there is some carryover because of midnight. There is still pollution, so the July 5th does still average a little bit higher than a normal day, just because of the overriding pollution from fireworks going into the next day. But what we saw in late November going into early December, we did have a significant stagnation, just not a lot of wind coming around, a lot of cold air pushing our atmosphere lower. And we, across the whole Central Valley, were affected by this from Stockton all the way down to Arvin. So we did send out that health advisory district-wide because we all understood that this is something that's not going to be changing with the new weather pattern that's coming through. So we had multiple days where we were above that level, or we were at that unhealthy level 3 is the number that we allocated for. But yeah, so we did have multiple days. And that's also contributing to why you see higher values for that Q4 when we're looking at that average. This compared to 2023, I should say, you can see that gray highlighted area for 2023. We did not have that experience in 2023 that we did in 2024. And you kind of saw another peak in kind of like the later part of December where we did have another peak. These are kind of normal. We're used to this in the valley with the stagnation, with the fog, with the haze building up. But it was just really bad this last year in 2024.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry.
No, go for it, Brad.
I was just going to call on Jesus if that's the only other hand I see.
Thank you. I have 2 questions. My first question is, I know that across the valley we're aiming to reduce our or to reach the new PM standards. Do we have an understanding of why near the Mount View Middle School and I think 1 or 2 other locations we saw an increase in particulate matter? And I think that was like slide 11 or 12.
Was this the slide that you were talking about? I just want to make sure I'm referencing the right slide that you were talking about. Sorry.
Yeah, I think this one and the previous one I think touch on showing that Mount View Middle School increased in particulate matter from the previous year.
Oh, pretty much all of our sites did increase from the previous year, and that was all impacted because of some of the stagnation that we saw. Anything specifically regarding Mountain View Middle School, I don't think we have a direct answer of why, because we do have some sites that site is located right next to a school. There is a lot more traffic there that could be attributing to the slight rise. There's also there could be a bunch of different reasons. I don't think we have a specific answer at this time of why one site is slightly higher than the rest, but we do see that it is trending with all the rest of the sites, that they are all kind of going in the same trend. We're not having anything significantly higher on a daily average.
Yeah, because I did see them all go up. I was comparing it to Sunset Middle School, which sits on the same main road. So I imagine would see the same amount of traffic approximately, which is why I would imagine they would be roughly the same, but Mountain View did show a good bit higher than that. So it'd be interesting to see, the cause of it or any further research around why it would be going up in that area, especially since it's right up against our school. So I think that would be a high priority to identify. My second question was around stagnation, trying to get a better understanding of what that means. Because when I hear it, I think that because there is no wind, the contamination that we're seeing is localized. It's contamination that we're producing locally. So without wind, that is what we're putting out into our community. So would you be able to kind of clarify that for me?
Absolutely. So stagnation is just a gigantic term that we like to use when we are not really seeing any weather in the Central Valley. We don't have a lot of wind flow that can push this stuff over the Tehachapi's with our natural northwest to southeast wind flow. It just sits. And also with the colder temperatures, it pushes what we call the inversion layer down even further. So you can think of this atmosphere that we have in the Central Valley as just a gigantic bowl. But when we have the colder temperatures, it pushes a lid further down into our bowl and it concentrates the pollution even greater, especially at the ground level. So yes, we don't have a lot of mixing. We everything that is right there around us is contributing to the pollution, and we have a lot less space for the pollution to go. In the summer months, we don't have that problem as much because our atmosphere is higher, it's hotter, so the ceiling rises and we have more volume. But in this time period where we have stagnation, where we don't have a lot of airflow, and the colder temperatures push that inversion layer down further, we have less atmosphere to really work with, and then we really are choking on our own pollution. I hope that explains that.
Absolutely. Do we know like how far, I guess, north? Sorry, no, this is like a third question. How far north we see that?
We have it all. It's through the whole Central Valley. Unfortunately, I also oversee the Stockton monitors all the way up into the north, and we see it there as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And then I see Emma's hand raised.
Hello, yes, thank you. Just wanted to follow up on his question about the like where it's coming from. So I heard Alejandro mention that there was going to be like speciation data or analysis happening. So after that analysis occurs, are we going to be told the sources, the contributing sources for the air quality? Because I think that that's the main root of the program. We want to know where the air pollution is coming from and how we can reduce that specific air pollution. So that would be my first question. And then also second question, I definitely don't mean to sound like I don't want this to sound like a sarcastic question, but like how exactly does the temperatures play a role in the um in the peaks during December, given that the temperatures were roughly around the same. And I was trying to pull up the temperature data for November, December to see how much the temperatures actually increased or decreased during that time to see, I was trying to find a pattern there. But anyway, if you can talk a little bit more about like what the temperature patterns were during that time and around what temperatures we should anticipate to see this poor air quality.
Yeah, to address the first question, speciation. Huge word that just means that we're trying to find or what is in the PM 2.5. PM 2.5 is a broad term for anything smaller than 2.5 micrograms, which is about like a strand of hair is 70 micrograms. So you can think of how small PM 2.5 really is. And so some of the speciation efforts that we're trying to do is just looking at the individual elements. Are we seeing a lot of silica, sand? We've seen that in some of the other communities that can indicate windblown dust. Then you can get into other chemicals or actual elements, and then we can kind of narrow it down. However, unfortunately, it doesn't give you a thumbprint. It's not like a fingerprint where you can be like, oh, let me look at all the other fingerprints and I'm going to attach this thumbprint or fingerprint to a source and be able to point one direction. We get more of a generic answer, but we can still narrow it down a little bit more once we're looking at the individual chemicals present in it. I know that's not what the answer that you want to know. You want to know, hey, is it XYB over there on the corner that's contributing the most? We can definitely get more into that information once we get more of that data coming through. All these are going to a third-party laboratory, so it's not my team that's analyzing it. We're sending it off to a research institute that's actually doing a lot of research and looking into this, and hopefully we can get some better answers with them and their analyzation of the data that we have been providing them. I don't have anything in front of me right now to give you any more information other than that, but we are looking at like the elements of what makes up PM 2.5 to help figure out where the biggest contributors could be. Now, there could be a chemical or compound out there that is like, oh, that is surprising. Let's dig into that. But we won't know until we get to that point.
And Brad, this is Stephanie. Maybe just to add on to Brad's point of just the speciation is a piece that we do in addition to kind of what the analysis you're seeing here. Like Brad said, it does take more time because we have to send it out to a lab and all of that. But Brad, we can kind of at an upcoming meeting plan to show. This was, I think, we've done it across other communities too, where we do a little bit like this is, I think, a good look at the last quarter, but we have a version of this presentation where we do a deep dive into the speciation too. So we can plan to do that in an upcoming air monitoring presentation.
And then also on the temperature, was there anyone else in the AQA? I didn't see anyone else. I didn't want to take any shade away from anyone else that may have been able to answer the inversion question better than me. But silence is deafening. Okay. Yeah, there is actually a lot of complicated charts regarding atmosphere ceilings where I don't know if you've ever come down like from the Grapevine back into the Central Valley, where you'll actually see a level of haze across the valley. Hopefully, we never have that and we have great air quality, but some of the worst days where you see that level of haze moves to different temperature levels in the atmosphere. And the colder the temperature, and especially also with humidity and colder months, that will actually lower down. And so it's actually kind of a visible blanket that you can see rising and lowering in the Central Valley. In the summer times, obviously it's really hot, that will rise, and we have more atmosphere. But in the colder months, it does lower down, and we just have less volume, and less volume means more pollution. Sorry, Emma, I saw your hand raised back up, and I'm still answering your question. So go back, Emma.
Thank you. Okay, I think I understand to the extent that I'm able to without being a air quality expert, but I guess I'm just trying to understand like why in December during that time there was a higher peak versus the rest of the winter months, right? And so I guess if there's an opportunity to learn more about that at a later time, I would love to hear more. And then going back to the first question about checking to see like what are the elements within the PM 2.5. I'm assuming there would be an analysis conducted between July 4th and the December peak, right, to determine like the difference between the elements that were found during those times?
Yeah, those are all with the lab right now. I've actually worked with some partners over in South Coast and over in LA, and they've done some speciation too with some of the wildfire. Oh, sorry, well, not wildfire, firework smoke. And it actually gets very interesting if you can actually look at it because it actually changes a particle size. Like you can actually see like this is actually metals that were on fire that combusted that turned into PM 2.5. If we look at a PM 2.5 analysis, I guarantee you're going to see a lot more heavy metals. Metals are primarily in fireworks. You're going to get magnesium, you're going to get potassium, and some of the other heavy metals, not lead or mercury or anything like that, but potassium and magnesium are some of the brightest colors of fireworks. So you'll see a lot of those metals popping up in our analyzation results. So look forward to looking into some of that future. And we can definitely present on that in the future.
Yes, just echoing Emma in the chat. Thank you, Brad, and thank you, Emma and Jesus, for your questions. I think there's more presentation. Is that right, Brad? So I think we can transition to that, and then we'll take some more questions in a little bit. So thank you all so much.
Awesome. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Danny Gonzalez. I am with the Outreach and Communications Department, and I'll be here talking to you about how exactly is it that we inform the public about these important issues related to air quality impacting your communities. So one of the foremost things that we really uphold at the district is ensuring that the public is aware of what is occurring in your communities. And how we do that, we constantly are releasing news releases to the public, both in English and Spanish, across the counties that we serve, alongside the media that we work with. So using traditional methods of media, news outlets, you will find us also online and print resources as well. And so this is a great way to access information of what are the changes that are happening, what are the program changes that are occurring, ultimately to ensure that the information is getting to you. Next slide. We also, in tangent with the press releases that we send out, we ensure that the public has access to this information via our own social media platforms. That includes Instagram, Facebook, X, formerly known as Twitter, and both in English and Spanish, and directly links these information resources to our own online website to access them easily. I see there's a question, Mario.
Yeah, I just want to congratulate you guys that you guys present this stuff to the young kids at school. I've seen it in Facebook. I just want to say thank you for that, for teaching our young kids about what's going on. I want to appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mario. And yes, certainly a great point. We do constantly are reaching out to schools across the communities to educate not only our professionals and our adults, but also our youth communities across the valley. So moving along with the presentation, again, like I said previously, we ensure that the public has access to information in a timely fashion that is constantly being updated, let it be related to program changes or simply weather-related impacts to air quality. I also want to remind individuals that you also have, if you already have access to air quality monitoring applications on your phone, we encourage you to visit airnow.gov to access up-to-date information in regards to changing conditions that can potentially impact you long before our press releases are out to you. And so this information is available to you 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. Next slide. If obviously a contentious topic of conversation earlier was how do we report some of these issues that are impacting our backyards. One way is that we always encourage our residents to file an air pollution complaint. You can actually do this via our app, contacting us directly on our phone line, or visiting valleyair.org/complaints. This is responded to year round. Your information is confidential, and we can directly put you in contact with a compliant inspector that would come out to that designated location to inspect what exactly is occurring in your community. Mario, question?
No, my hand was still up. I'm sorry.
Okay, no worries. And that concludes my portion of the presentation. Are there any other questions or comments that any CSC members may have? All right, if there isn't any questions, thank you for your time, and I'll hand it over to Nancy.
Thank think we do have one question that came up from Cesar.
Yeah, could anyone just drop the link on like registering for RAN notifications in the chat in case anyone would like to do that now? Thank you. That was all.
Yes, thank you so much, Cesar. It sounds like asking for that link in the chat for folks. So if someone has that resource available, please do include it in the chat. And then I see we do have another hand raised by Mario. Go for it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you can't put that that information on the school monitors, the ones they put in the monitors in the schools to educate to for other people to know that this this thing that we could give some information to the people.
This is Danny. I believe you're referring to our air quality tools that we work with along various school sites throughout the valley. Schools do have access to that. That's part of our Health Schools program. So schools are constantly being informed and updated on the air quality in their communities. And at that point, they can make a determination of what kind of activities and the level of activities that their students are allowed to engage in per air quality status.
Yeah, but the thing is that the information for the adults to know if when they wanna they see a problem, whatever, they know where to get all the information.
I understand, Mario. Yeah, and so I think that's why we are constantly referring residents to sign up for such tools such as the Valley Air app or myair.gov to ensure that they have timely information available to them before their school or the kid even goes to school sometimes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mario. Any other questions? All right, I'll hand it over to Nancy. Thank you.
Nancy here again. So I will just give a brief overview of the community air quality data slide. So each AB 617 community has its own dedicated community air monitoring page. And so if you click on this link right here from the presentation, or you can visit our community.valleyair.org/community air monitoring page. And then so some of the more important points from this website is that we have the real-time community air monitoring data along with the quarterly reports. And if you receive material packets in mail prior to CSC meetings, you will see that we include these weekly air monitoring updates, which just show the PM 2.5 trends for the week. And then you can also reference previous weekly air monitoring update reports, or as well as reference previous just data points for the real-time community air monitoring data. And so additionally, CARB's statewide air quality data portal, AQView, displays and provides community air monitoring data from AB 617 communities. And so we do have the website located here, aqview.arb.ca.gov. And then in this website, you will be able to see air quality data from Valley AB 617 communities available here in this location. And so this website is constantly developing and adding new features. And so this is just a really good tool for you to all use. And if you have any questions, please let us know. More than happy to connect with anybody who would like a more thorough walkthrough for the Arvin Lamont Community Air Monitoring page, or if they have any other questions. And so this concludes our presentation, and so we can open the floor up for any questions or comments.
Thank you, Nancy. Appreciate closing out that presentation. Also just wanted to highlight very quickly to Cesar's question earlier about the Real-Time Air Advisory Network. Thank you, Heather, for adding that link in the chat, and that's available for folks. But yes, as Nancy mentioned, we're in the space for Q&A, so we welcome any questions from CSC members. Please feel free to raise your hand or add it in the chat. Yes, Mario.
Arvin, I have another law motor giveaway to give out.
This is Stephanie. Early preview, we are, and I'm going to give an update on that in my next presentation.
Okay. Could I get some flyers that I could hand out?
This is Stephanie. Again, I'll give my update in just a couple minutes, but Mario, at this time, it's not quite, the flyers aren't quite ready yet. We haven't fully, since we just did the event in February, we will need some time to be able to do this event in other communities, and then we'll come back to Arvin Lamont in a few months.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question, Mario. Sounds like more information about that to come. Are there any other questions coming up for folks? We can take a minute here in case you need a little bit of time. But please feel free to raise your hand or add any questions or comments in the chat.
We got a lot of questions. I got one question is when is the chance for me to use one of those mobile monitors?
This is,
Oh, sorry, Stephanie.
I'll start, but Brad, you feel free to jump in. Mario, if you have some locations that you're interested, if you have an air quality concern, the goal is if you all have concerns in the community that aren't located near any of the monitors that we have kind of through our network that we're working with you on to deploy, if there are other locations kind of outside of those, then you can let our team know. You can, call us, email us, put it in the chat. And then our team will go through and kind of look into those locations. Because like I mentioned earlier, we'll have to find a suitable location in order to put the van. So that's the first step, Mario, is you let us know the locations and we'll kind of do the work to see whether or not, like, where and how we can get the van up.
Okay, right now, that's all I'm gonna say right now. Yeah, I'll just wait up and get some more information and then we'll find out what's going on. All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mario. Appreciate your questions. And I know that it kind of sounds like some interest is leaning towards some information that's in the presentation to come. So I just want to do one more quick check-in with folks to see if there's any questions about the camp. Anything else coming up for folks? I do see Bianca has her hand raised, so go for it, Bianca.
I'm sorry, I just have a quick question. Has the Air District done any comparison from like before entering through the AB 617 till now? I know that they've done some deployment of like the nut harvesting machinery and things like that. So I was just wondering, has there been any just comparison from years before starting the AB 617 till now, now that they've deployed all the monitors in the area, if there's any difference of changing with the air quality in the area?
To my knowledge, since we've deployed, we haven't been able to have a good comparison against anything else that was already in existence in Arvin. There is a carb monitor, but I believe that's only an ozone analyzer down there. So we could compare ozone now to then, but the PM 2.5 was unknown at that time. So pretty much as soon as we were able to deploy these monitors out there is where we kind of started that benchmark for PM 2.5. But we can definitely look to see if there's any other specific studies that were kind of one-offs that we can kind of look at some background information. But I'm not really too certain on that.
maybe I'll take it to one of my adventures.
Thank you both. All right. Well, I think we're ready to transition to our next agenda item. Thank you everybody for your questions and comments. I think they helped build a better understanding. There was some questions around clarification, which are really very much appreciated as we all have similar questions as well. So just a shout out to everybody for those questions. I'm happy to transition us now to our SERP incentives measure update. And I think this is related to a lot of the questions that folks have been asking. And so hopefully there's some answers to your questions. And if not, this is a good space to ask those questions. So I'm happy to pass it back to the Air District for the update.
This is Stephanie, and I just wanted to echo what Maddie said, and first thank Alex and Brad for putting together this presentation. We don't see them all the time, but they're always in the background working on the network. Alex is in the community like almost every week, working on the monitors, making sure they're all running. So I just wanted to thank both of them and thank the committee for such amazing questions. I heard a lot of action items kind of for our next update of seeing some more speciation data and following up with Mario on the ban. So those are certain things we'll certainly work on kind of for the next update. And like Patty said, though, I have a few slides. It's just a couple of them, but some really great updates on kind of all the things that we're working on the SERP implementation side of things. So I'm just going to share my screen. And the first update I have that I know a lot of people are interested in is just an update on the lawnmower event that we had and Tune In, Tune Up event that happened at the beginning of February. I just want to thank everyone so much for your support to make that event happen. I know a couple folks on the committee were there and participating at the event. I just wanted to give you all an update that we exchanged 282 older polluting gas-powered lawnmowers, and we're able to give out free zero-emission electric lawnmowers to residents in Arvin and Lamont. Even better than that, thanks to the CSC's really quick support at the last meeting, your quick support of that funding reallocation that we took, we were able to actually increase the number of people that we served at that event. Before the funding reallocation, we had just enough funding for about 200 people. And then after the funding reallocation, we really wanted to, quickly act on all of your recommendation. So we were able to kind of increase that number. We had some people on the wait list, and then we also had some people come that day. They were on our standby list. And so we were able to add almost another 100 people to that event, just thanks to the CSC's quick action and support of the funding reallocation. So again, huge thanks to the committee for making that happen. At this event, there was two events that were happening at once. There was also kind of a vehicle repair program that was running as well. We call it our Tune In, Tune Up program. And so this is something we do in partnership with Valley Clean Air Now. So Valley CAN was able to perform emissions tests on 344 vehicles at that same event as well. Our outreach team was also there, and our community strategies and resources team was also there. We were signing people up for free air purifiers too if they qualified. There was food. I know that we saw the mayor at the event too. So it was just all in all a really great event. I did want to take a second. I know Bianca was at the event too. I don't know, Bianca, if you just want to share a couple words of your experience at the event.
Yes, it went very well. I was part of the lawnmower exchange program area, and people that were waiting were also signing up for the air purifier, so it was very exciting. We had Eric giving us, and another gentleman from the Air District was also passing out flyers, so they were signing up a lot of folks. I did want to give a big shout out to everybody from the Air District, making it possible for every single one of them. I was there all the way till the end, and even though it was supposed to finish at a certain time, they stayed far beyond the time frame to have everybody that was on the standby to have a lawnmower. And I do want to appreciate that effort that Valley Can did take, and the Air District also did. And in signing up folks, and there's still a lot of people that wanted to be participating in the program. So I do see a lot of momentum, and I wanted to share that with the CSC that there's a lot of folks that are interested. We did, as I mentioned, there was a standby all the way toward the end of the street, and it was just a whole traffic. So it was a very good event.
Thanks, Bianca. This is Stephanie, and that's great news because the next thing I'll share, just what's happening next with the Lawn and Garden program. So the program still has funding available, and residents can participate on their own. It does require an extra step that the person has to go out and look and purchase the lawnmower and take their old mower to the dismantler, but it's totally something that someone right now can still participate in participate in the program without having to be at an event. But with that being said, I know the big thing that we talked about in the last meeting when we talked about the funding reallocation is the ability to allow more folks to participate through an event. So something I'll share now, it's still a little early since the last event just happened, but something that I will share is we are working with Valley Can to plan an additional event that'll happen sometime towards the fall of this year. So when things become available, including flyers, a date, a location, we will definitely share that with you all.
I'm on a meeting.
I'll pause here and see if there's any last questions related to our lawn and garden program.
Yes, I see people have their hand raised.
Sorry, I just wanted to ask. I know that there was quite a few folks that signed up for the waiting list. Is there any possibility that that the air district could let us know how many people are on the waiting list so we could at least estimate how much are going to be left over just in case if people do sign up that are in the waiting list for the next event? Or
This is Stephanie. I can check with my team, but I believe after the funding reallocation took place, we were able to put everyone that was on the waiting list and give them a call, and they were able to participate. I think there might have been a couple people that showed up. I think we also were able to take care of the standby line as well. But like you said, Bianca, I do think even outside of those folks, there's still people that want to participate. So we'll do the same thing we did for this event, where really early we'll work with you all, get that kind of that link open to register for the program. And so community members can sign up early and know that they kind of have a spot for the program and for the event. Awesome. Thanks for the question, Bianca. And the next thing that we do have an update on, during our agenda setting meeting, we did have a CSC member ask kind of an update with one of our measures, which is our school bus replacement measure. As a reminder, the goal of this measure is to replace existing older diesel school buses with zero or near zero buses. So in the SERP, we have about $1.6 million set aside for this measure. And through this measure, we are able to replace pay for up to 100% of the cost to replace this. And this kind of depends on something called cost effectiveness. And an update that I wanted to share is we have been working on conducting outreach to schools within the Arvin and Lamont boundary. We discussed it during the agenda setting, and I know even Christine over at the City of Arvin shared kind of the same update that we'll share, that currently there's a couple of school districts, including Lamont Unified and Arvin Union, that aren't quite interested in the school bus program at this time. But we are super excited to share that we did receive applications for Vinland School District. And so our team is currently working on reviewing those applications, and we'll give an update to the CSC kind of at a future meeting. I do see, Mario, you have your hand up, so go ahead.
Yeah, I talked to Ali Candy, one of the person there. They was interested on the electrical buses. They just was waiting to get some information about it. And two, I was gonna say, maybe if the other schools do not want it, maybe Sunset, maybe they are interested on having electrical, buses. And not only that, maybe you guys could put a electrical station next to the school. Like that, the buses could charge up their buses and people could charge up their cars. As long as they could use it right there next to the school.
Mario, this is Stephanie. I heard Sunset. Did you say another school too that you heard was interested?
Allen County.
Thanks. We appreciate any contacts that you all have. These are schools that we've already reached out to that have let us know they're not interested. But if there's any specific ones you all know of or have contacts, please let us know. And then Mario, as a part of this, it's really, really important that if someone gets school buses and even just any electric vehicle, that they have the right infrastructure. So we do actually are working with Vinland School District to also work with them to get charging infrastructure set up. And this would be not the same kind of infrastructure that you'd use for like your own, car, for example. It's like heavy duty infrastructure that's meant for things like buses.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
for like saying you want to do something like that, maybe for the school buses, and not only that, maybe put electrical charging station for cars next to the school. Like that, they don't have to be jumping all over the place.
Mhm.
Hey, Stephanie, this is Sarah. I just wanted to jump in. Vinland School District includes Sunset Middle School, and it also includes Vinland Elementary School. So Sunset did apply for those electric buses.
Oh,
Yeah.
Thank you, Sarah.
Well, good luck for them.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Jesus.
Thank you. My quick question was did they put out a reason why they were not interested at the moment, or what was preventing them from going for it?
This is Stephanie. My understanding is just, I think similar challenges of a lot of people that are making the transition to like electric technology is I think like the kind of the reliability with their operations, including things like range. Obviously, I think similar with trucks, similar with buses, people have jobs they need to do, school, children that they need to deliver effectively to schools and such. So I think there were some just some worries and some maybe trepidation around kind of things like range and just making sure that it fits with their day-to-day operations.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Could I say something else? Maybe if they get some information on Bakersfield electrical buses and get information from them, maybe they could learn something more about the electrical buses, because those buses go a long place. I mean, I don't see there's any problem with that. Maybe making education for them to understand how good the buses are and all that. Maybe then they could understand it.
This is Stephanie. I fully agree with that. I think as we could continue to work with Vinland, I think they could be a perfect example for other schools just to show kind of how it works, in their operations and such. So we can continue to work with, just because right now they're not interested, I don't think it means that we're not ever going to continue working with them. We have the program available and we'll still continue to work with really any school that's interested in this. And I see Tim. Go ahead.
Hi, regarding the school districts here in Lamont, if they hypothetically go apply for the funding, do they have to completely replace their whole bus fleet with electric buses? Or could it be half or percentage of their buses? Because I constantly thought that this would be one of the issues that they would bring up, the range and distance. And one of the talking points would be, well, you don't have to give up all your buses. You can retain one or two diesel power buses to use for long hauls. Well, because Lamont District only serves a range of 5 miles, so I'm not understanding why they're saying the long range is not feasible to them.
Hey, Tim, this is Sarah with the Air District. So with the school bus replacement program, we require them to crush a diesel bus for one electric bus. So it's just 1 for 1. We have some school districts that just choose to replace one bus. It's kind of like a test to see how they like it and how it works with the charging. And then we have some other school districts that replace more than that because they apply for and they install some major infrastructure. So for them, it makes more sense to, do more buses as they have the ability to charge them. So they definitely don't have to replace half their fleet or all of their fleet. They could apply for one, or they can apply for more if they'd like. It's just whatever they feel comfortable with.
Because currently, right now, the Lamont School District is running on a fleet of 8 buses. They typically serve both the main schools in Lamont and the junior high outside the community boundaries. But it's not like they're traveling 15, 10, 20 miles. They typically serve a boundary of 5 to 8 miles. So some of their questions are not very logical to the community where they're denying funding. One, I would hypothetically say that the reason why they're declining the electric buses is because of they probably don't want to, because they just spend a bunch of money on replacing a diesel tank for storage for their fleet. So they're probably wondering, let's pay that off before we moving on to a different kind of mode of transportation.
Yeah, I hear that. This is Stephanie. I hear that frustration, Tim. I know that's something I have, and then Sarah, feel free to add in. I know that's something we've also heard from schools is, they day to day, they do, help just get kids, from school to like near where they live. But also schools use their buses to kind of get kids to, I think, like field trips, things like sporting events that kind of go a little bit further. And I know that some schools have shared some hesitation that they want to keep, those options to make sure that they can do those longer range trips. But I think to your point, and kind of like I mentioned earlier, we're totally open to continue working with them. If they kind of get to the point where they feel comfortable and they want to start switching out 1 or 2 buses, like we still can continue to work with them on the outreach to kind of let them know that the program is here and available.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Tim. Mario, is this an old hand or do you have a question?
No, I got a question. I remember a couple of meetings back that we was talking about something about this. And I remember that you guys mentioned that some people, the same problem what we're having right now. But if you make a program to take away a bus and the school is not really comfortable, maybe you could make a program, for them to keep the bus for 1 year and try out the electrical bus and see how everything goes before you guys crush it. And maybe, they will continue getting more electrical buses and then they could crush the old bus and continue. I remember you guys was talking something about that, a couple of meetings about that. I was just wondering if you guys could do that with the schools.
Mario, this is Sarah with the Air District again. We have schools that want to keep their diesel buses, and they actually go through the EPA school bus program. That program is not a replacement program like ours. They don't need to crush a bus to get a bus. So that's one way that we see people kind of test out the electric buses, and then maybe later down the road when they are ready to crush a bus, then they can go through our program. So there's a lot of programs out there. The EPA one is pretty popular because you don't have to get rid of one of the buses.
Yeah, I didn't know about that program. The only thing I remember that we was talking about that meeting was trying to help out people who wants to get like buses or back then was big diesel trucks, electrical diesel trucks. Okay. And you guys was mentioning about, a lot of people do not want to do that because stuff, and they don't want to lose their truck over electrical, diesel truck or bus or whatever, because they don't have no experience. What is capable those thieves could do. And I seen them, and I know people who worked on them and all that. They're good, and they got their little issues, but everything could get fixed, no problem. But I thought that was the type of program maybe you could tell the school, we got this program, and maybe work with them. But like you said, they got their own little program stuff, and it don't work that way. I get it. Thank you.
Thanks, Mario. I see we also have a question from Bianca.
Just want to clarify, there's only 4 buses in the SERP to be replaced in the Arvin and Lamont. One question that I do have for the Air District, how many applications for buses were done from Violin? Are they multiple or is just one replacement? So we can at least know that there's some left over, or if there's none, then we should not advocate if there's no more funding for another bus.
Hey, Bianca, this is Sarah again. They applied to replace 3 electric school buses, or replace 3 diesel school buses with electric ones. We just received the applications, so we haven't done an extensive review. But so far, they're on board for 3, so hopefully it all works out.
Thank you. So we have one left over from the SERP to advocate for either Arvin or Lamont to take it if they would like to, or other school districts. Thank you.
This is Stephanie. Thank you all for your great questions. And I hear lots of interest around this measure, so we'll be sure to bring you all updates as we have them. And in the interest of time, I'll keep us moving. We're pretty close to the end of the presentation, and I don't think I saw Christine in the meeting, but I just really wanted to quickly share. I know that the paving projects that we're doing with the city of Arvin are of high interest, and I just wanted to share that this month, the city of Arvin, their city council kind of approved our projects. So that allows them to start the work. So we are on track to begin construction around this summer. But similar to the buses, we'll continue to bring updates to you all in coordination with the city of Arvin to let you all know about how these projects are going. The last thing I just wanted to plug is that I know that there's a lot of work that's happening, in these meetings, but there's also a lot of work that's happening in our subcommittee meetings. So I did want to give a quick update that we have 3 upcoming subcommittees. The first on March 11th is a pesticide subcommittee meeting that we are having. And it's going to be a really, really great meeting. The Department of Pesticide Regulation is going to do a demo and provide updates on their statewide notification system spray days. And then on March 18th, we have an outreach subcommittee meeting scheduled. I know I've already heard a few topics of interest from folks. One of those is talking a little bit more about how we can share information with the public about how to file complaints and how to share air quality concerns with us. I also know a couple meetings back we talked about, or not even a couple, I think in the last meeting we did talk about charging infrastructure and some businesses and some schools that we can work together to, you all provide us the feedback of where chargers make sense in the community, and we kind of assist with doing that outreach. And that was such a great discussion. And in that meeting, it felt like there was, some more feedback that members wanted to share. So those are 2 topics that I did want to tee up that we can talk about. But of course, this is your meeting. So if there's other topics that we want to discuss at the outreach subcommittee meeting, feel free to let me or anyone on our outreach team know. You can type it in the chat. And then something that we also have coming up as well is our vegetative barrier subcommittee. Just as an update, I think we shared it in the last meeting as well, or the meeting before, but we had a request for proposal open to find someone to do, to implement our vegetative barrier program. And so that closed at the beginning of the year, and our team is doing a lot of work to process the application that we received. And so once we're done with that, we will plan to do a vegetative barrier subcommittee meeting with this group as well. So those are 3 things we have upcoming. And that actually ends my presentation. I am happy to take any questions that anyone has about my presentation.
Yes, thank you, Stephanie. See, Bianca also has her hand raised.
Sorry, I do want to extend this invitation very, very profoundly from the bottom of my heart about the pesticide subcommittee. This has been a long work. This started all the way from Shafter and the AB 617 process. Now we have it statewide. So it shows precedents that even a small community like the AB 617s, we make statewide changes in the regulation. So I want to extend the invitation to everybody, please, please, whoever would like to join for the pesticide subcommittee to kick off the notification. It's something, it's the first statewide notification nationwide, that is the first one in anywhere in the United States. So I want to give a big shout out to all the key players here that are here. Even the Air District did support us, CARB, DPR. So I do want to make it a big shout out that because of this work and the AB 617 in the Air District and this whole process, we were able to do the notification. So I just want to give a thank you for all this, but also a big shout out that we should all be there for sure.
Thank you, Bianca, for the celebratory comment and the congratulations as well. It is a big impact, so appreciate you naming that. Other questions or comments following Stephanie's SERP presentation, SERP update presentation?
Hi, how's it going? This is Julio from the County of Kern. I'm one of the planners, and I'll be attending the meetings in Asha's place, because usually she's the one that's here. Just wanted to give a couple of updates for the projects that are going on in Lamont. So we're starting design for projects along Panama Road, the pedestrian path there. So the design has started. And then also too, where we have a pedestrian path project on Mountain View as well. Design has started for that as well. So we're starting to design, the design of the projects is starting. So I just wanted to give that little update as well. Thank you.
This is Liz. Thank you, Julio, for being here and introducing yourself. And we look forward to having you join our meetings. And thank you for helping transition us to our standing updates portion of the agenda. Just because we weren't seeing any more questions about the CERT updates. So we do have a few updates for you all tonight, and we'll go in the order that we see on the agenda. And so first, I would just like to invite the Air District to see if you have any updates to share with the CSC regarding any implementation updates happening in the community.
This is Stephanie. I'd love to leave time. You all have heard a lot from me today, so I'd love to leave time for our partners. But I will, Nancy, can we put in the chat our SERP tracker? I will just, that we discussed this at the agenda setting. I will just plug our SERP tracker. Nancy talked about it. This is something all of our teams at the district that have a commitment to you all in the SERP. This is something we all work together to update every single month to bring you all the latest updates on kind of progress with SERP implementation. So if you ever have any questions, you're welcome to, of course, reach out to us, but our SERP tracker is up to date and you can kind of see the latest status of everything in that tracker. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. This is Liz. So we can keep moving through our updates, and next we have CARB. I think Michelle, you sent some updates already in the chat, so maybe you can just quickly share a little more.
Yeah, I always try to get those in the chat so the interpreters have a moment to translate them, and then also just so you have a moment to look at the links and let me know if you have any questions. But just want to let you know, yeah, so Michelle Byers from CARB, your liaison to the state, and these links and this workshop that's going on is related to a rule or a Senate bill that came down about oil and gas protection facilities needing to create a plan, a leak detection and response plan. And this is something that they will, within that, it's, you know, it says that they have to do this if they're within 3,200 feet of certain populated areas. I know many of you are probably concerned about that. And so I'm hoping that you all will be able to participate in one of these workshops. CARB's part of this is really focused on setting the standard. And so you may have a lot of information that you can help CARB understand from the community perspective. So I hope you all will. Sorry, I see your hand. I assume it's for me.
Thank you, Michelle. We have a couple hands, and
Okay.
Mario, I believe you were first.
Let Cesar go first. Can't talk too much. I'll wait after my turn. Go ahead, Cesar.
Sweet. Thank you, Mario. And thank you for highlighting this workshop for SB 1137, Michelle. The registration link is here in the chat. The 3,200 feet comes from a review, a literature review, and a statewide study that shows that there's health effects up to 3,200 feet. So I'm happy that this was passed. This is something that Arvin passed their own setback back in 2018. I just want to note that I am a little bit frustrated with CAR because it should have been implemented already, and there is a 3-year hold. So now we have to wait 3 more years for protection. And I think for bureaucracy, 3 years may not feel like a lot, but if 3 years is the first 3 years of your life, that may be pretty serious. So I want to share this, which is the health protection zone map. Everything in dark purple is a confirmed health protection zone. We can see Mount View Middle School is in it. This is Fuller Acres here, right? And all of these are wells. And this lighter pink is a potential health protection zone. So if you live within these areas, your health may be affected or your children's health. And then this is what Arvin looks like, right? So we are all most likely within these health protection zones, if not the potential health protection zone. And this is a historic law that's going to protect public health and make sure that we aren't breathing in air from sites that have exemptions, like the exemption from the California Oil and Gas Rule 95669, which allows a lot of these exemptions to go and have open vents. So that I also want to note that some of those laws are going to be reviewed. So there's a lot of improvements coming to oil and gas infrastructure as far as regulations is happening. So I encourage everyone to register with the link that I shared there in the chat, so that if you have any worries or concerns, you can also share them with Carb.
Thank you so much. As always, you know way more than I do. I appreciate it.
Yes, go ahead, Mario.
Yeah, okay. Hey, Cesar, you have to teach me that one because I'm very concerned on that one. And I know a little bit about it, but I want to learn more. Anyways, yeah, I got that question for remember we was talking about the diesel trucks, that liquid was creating problems with the trucks, with health issues and stuff like that. Well, I was talking to a couple of buddies of mine, and they're diesel mechanics, and they say that was the worstest thing they ever did, put that liquid in that bottle, because it creates more problems and more hazardous stuff comes out of the muffler. And it just, I wonder what was the study how to do that. I can't figure that one out. And I would like to know a little bit more about it to have a better understanding. That's it. Thank you.
I believe we discussed that at the last meeting, if I remember. And
like 2 meetings ago, or 2
yeah,
or 3 meetings. Yeah.
Yeah, and I sent an email, or I forwarded an email, and I'll just go ahead and repost this in the chat for you. But if I remember the detail right, essentially it sounds like your friend probably put the wrong fluid in there. Hopefully this is a one-off occurrence.
No, that's what they use for the small type deal. I just don't. It makes a big white ball inside the muffler, and if when they drive it, they say it spits it all outside. It just spits it.
Yeah, I did quite a bit of research, and I couldn't find anywhere that talked about that being a normal event. So I don't know quite what to do with it.
I feel that maybe if you go to some of the diesel mechanic places, maybe they could maybe give you some more information or something, because a lot of people who I know, they've been mentioning it a lot. Is how they know that I'm into, with this program, and they ask me questions I don't even know myself. That's why I'm trying to get information off of you or off of somebody.
Well, I will say that a lot of the information I was able to find was actually from diesel truck related websites. They weren't like government or something like that. They were from people who do the work. And I still didn't find anything. Mostly what I found was talking about if you do something wrong, you're going to see these huge results. But I mean, if everybody's doing things right, or at least, hopefully almost everybody, then you wouldn't see that. So I'm not quite sure what the issue might be, but I would hope it's not a normal thing.
Let me see if let's see if I got pictures of it. Maybe I could send it to you.
Absolutely, do that, and then maybe I can poke somebody else in our group that maybe knows more about it all.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Yep.
Thank you. Really interesting questions, and I think, Mario, you might just be ahead of the current research on the subject, but glad that we have a partner here who will follow up on that. And I do see one more hand from Tim, and this, I think, will be the last question we take before we move to our next update.
Hi, I had a question regarding the actual zone that Caesar said I work near the oil fields in a warehouse, and we had individuals from the Department of Conservation asking questions regarding zoning, air quality, and noise pollution and protection zones. And we didn't know what to answer because it's not our field, we're just a warehouse. But there was questions being asked already currently today from the Department of Conservation. So is the Department of Conservation working with with CARB regarding the implementation of the bill?
I can speak to that. Yeah. So the Department of CalGEM, which is the oil and gas regulator for California, is under the Department of Conservation. I suspect maybe Jacob Roper or Sarah Rubin from the Department of Conservation reached out to you. I can definitely help you with.
No, they sent individuals, and I think they were confused. They assumed our warehouse was connected to the oil fields behind us, and we're like, no, that's a separate property. They're around. You gotta go around.
Yeah. So the reason that there's a health protection zone, the dark purple one, the pink one, is because they don't know where all the wells are. A lot of these wells were put in place before proper record keeping was made. So there's a lot of wells that aren't where they're supposed to be or where the map reflects. So they have to play catch up on their poor record keeping because, things are some of these wells are close to 100 years old, if not older. So they really need the public's help to identify any missing links. So if you do know if there's any wells next to you or around that area that may affect health, there is a place in the map where you can report possible wells that aren't part of the HPZ zone, and I can connect with you offline to help you with that.
Yeah, and Caesar, I would have helped them, but I'm not a manager, so I can't answer those questions. Those are up to somebody higher than me. But I told him, I was like, yeah, I could get you with the right people that could inform you, because I did tell him I know that by law this has to be a protection zone because there's a school down the block and there's residential living areas too down a few miles. So I for sure know it's a protected zone, and I kind of get why you guys are asking questions.
Yeah, and the workshops on the 19th and the 28th are important, especially for folks that live near it. Because if you do live near it, you can ask the operator of the well next to your house to give you a water quality inspection and report. So there are some things that come of this that residents can directly benefit from as well.
Okay.
Thank you. This is Liz. Really appreciate all of the really great questions. I don't see any more hands, so I think we can move to our last update, and that is from DPR. And I believe Ivan is here and will share his screen.
Buenas noches a todos, ¿pueden escucharme? Perfecto. Sí me pueden escuchar, ¿verdad? Ok, perfecto. Bueno, la actualización del día de hoy es breve, ya que también lo he mencionado hace unos minutos en el meeting, que es que vamos a tener una presentación de lo que es el programa aplicativo llamado Spray Days. La fecha donde haremos la demostración es el 11 de marzo del 2025, este año, en la próxima semana. No, perdón, 2 semanas, a las 4 de la tarde. Aquí en el chat, Daniela va a estar compartiendo estos volantes para que lo puedan ver y se puedan informar. La presentación va a ser bastante sencilla y directa. Va a haber una demostración y pues para que de esa manera puedan utilizar correctamente Spray Days California. Para cualquier pregunta, como ya saben, me pueden mandar un mensaje. Acá será por el chat o si no también a través de Liz para que me contacten por correo electrónico. Muchas gracias y que tengan buenas noches. Hasta luego.
This is Liz. Thank you so much, Yvonne, and definitely more to come at that pesticide subcommittee. And I do see one hand up from Mario. Go ahead.
Yeah, mi pregunta es que you guys gonna do it on video or how you guys gonna do it? The presentation.
Sí, ahorita están compartiendo los volantes aquí en el mensaje. Ahí hay un enlace para que se unan a la reunión de Zoom. Y en la reunión de Zoom por internet, videoconferencia, va a haber una persona que va a hacer la demostración paso a paso.
Pero no podemos estar en persona.
En persona, no va a ser en persona.
Pues ese es el problema. Ok, está bien. A ver cómo lo hacemos. Gracias.
Sí, Gustavo.
Sí, el Spray Day, nomás una clarificación, es lo que es lo habíamos conocido como la notificación de la aplicación de pesticidas.
Sí, exactamente.
Ok. Ok, gracias.
This is Liz. Thank you for the questions. And yes, it will be a virtual subcommittee meeting as usual. But as always, if you have any concerns with using the technology, do let us know in advance so that we can all support you so that everyone can engage in the meeting. And Gustavo and Mario, I still see your hands up. Let us know if you have any follow-up, but I'm just looking at the time and I think we are ready to wrap up. Normally, we do take some time to read through the action items, but those will be sent directly to your emails after this meeting as usual. When you get that, do feel free to reply with any action items that were missed or anything that was captured incorrectly. We really do want to make sure that everything is being tracked. And so with that, I will just close out by wishing you all a very good evening and would just like to invite our two co-leads to share any closing remarks. And maybe we can start with Cesar.
Yeah, very quick plug. I'd like to shout out Mario's persistence on involving folks outside of the CSC to take part and learn about these things. My organization, Bianca's organization, Emma's organization, and the Central California Asthma Collaborative are partnering to do a community meeting in Lamont on the 19th. And so this is a report that came in to us. And this is a pipe that's treated wastewater, and that water is usually being used to irrigate a field that feeds animals. So we reported this to the Air District. The Air District did their part, but there's a lot of other agencies that have to take part in that. So the community event is going to be letting folks know how to make proper reports, not only through the Air District, but also everyone from the county all the way up to the state. And the Air District is going to provide us with some magnets and some goodies to help folks take home. So yeah, awesome. See Stephanie's holding it up. So we're just going to invite everyone to that meeting on the 19th. And please, if you can go to that one, register for the SB 1137 workshop, which is on the 19th and also the 20th. So you can come to both. And hopefully we'll see you there. And it's going to be at the David Head Center. Sorry, forgot to mention.
Go ahead, Bianca.
Yes, I wanted to echo what Cesar was mentioning. We want to invite all the CSC to participate that would like more information of how to report incidents. And I know this is been brought up in a lot of the CSC. So if you have any follow-up question, please let us know where we could support. I also wanted to thank the Air District for bringing this meeting up to light. I think we're moving very positive forward. I think this meeting was very fruitful because we got a lot of updates, not only from like the buses to the green vegetative barriers to the pesticide notification to even the road improvement and the lawnmower exchange program. So there's a lot of good things that are coming out in our community through the AB 617 process, and we want to make sure that everybody's informed about these projects, especially also the monitoring, that there's actually good monitoring out there, especially for the community that we really never had anything. Now we're seeing some good actions coming out of this. So I do want to thank the Air District, CARB, all the key players here, even the facilitating company that are making this possible for all the community to be in here. It's a very good afternoon. It's a very late afternoon, but I know that it is something that communities that have been advocating for a long time, and we're finally seeing good positive outcomes from all this work. So thank you so much, and thank you for everybody that are here. All our community members that have been a key player in making this possible.
Thank you, Bianca and Cesar, for sharing about the event and sharing all of those really encouraging and kind words. It definitely is a group effort to get all of this work done, and it takes time and it's hard, and it's just really inspiring that all of you keep showing up into these spaces despite the late meetings and the frustration. So really love seeing all of the positive energy and the really great progress that's been made. So congratulations to all of you. And just to close us out, I will invite Stephanie to share any closing remarks before we finish with final public comment.
Thank you, Liz. This is Stephanie. I'll be really quick. I'll just emphasize what Liz said, that this is a huge partnership and only works well because all of you show up to these meetings and bring your great ideas and bring your questions. And just a huge shout out to Bianca and Cesar, who throughout kind of all of the prep meetings that we have bring such great ideas and bring all of your voices kind of in the preparation of these meetings. So I just wanted to thank both of them for all of the great work that they do in the community. And thank you all for the lovely meeting and all of your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. And thank you again, everyone, all of the residents, CSC members, partner agencies who've joined. Just wish you all a very good night. And if there are any public comments, now is your time.
Buenas noches.
Buenas noches.
Buenas noches. Good night, everyone. I see
Ahí está
actually
otro.
one
Buenas
hand from
noches.
Tim, so we can stay on and
Buenas
hear your
noches.
comment, Tim.
Buenas noches.
I had a question from CARB and the Air District. It's regarding code enforcement.
Ya estuvo.
It's not within the boundaries of AB 617. It's outside the boundaries of AB 617 in Lamont and Arvin. I know of a company that is using an AC machine to service AC units on vehicles, especially heavy duty vehicles, and they're not complying to California standards. So the machine's not registered and
Ya
they're not
estuvo.
properly trained as well. And they're not complying with state law to get the machine inspected annually. So is that CARB or that Valley, the Air District, or is that falls to California EPA?
I think what I heard you say was that they have refrigeration units. You cut out a little bit on me at the very beginning of your
So they have a machine to service AC units on heavy industry or heavy duty vehicles like diesel engines or basically freight trucks, but they are not. That machine has to be SERP. It's not SERP, and secondary, the employees that are using it are not properly trained to use it, so there might be leakage. And second, I think third is they have to be compliant and take it to get inspected annually, and they haven't done it for the past 3 years.
So it sounds to me like you're wanting to make a report. Would I interpret that
Yeah.
correctly?
Who do I report it to, basically, is the question.
I think to me, unless somebody else understands what he's saying in a different way than I'm hearing.
Yeah, we can also take this on through the Arvin Reporting Network, and then we can involve everyone from Cali, PA, all the way down to the local authorities.
Because somebody told me that I was supposed to report it to the Cal EPA, but I was like, no, it looks like a valley or carb issue. Because one of the other things they told me is that they test diesel engines, and in order to test a diesel engine, they leave the engine idling for either 1 hour to 2 hours. And that's
Yeah, so I think ultimately it will be a carb thing, I'm pretty sure. But you do reporting through Cal EPA. So just what Cesar is saying. So if you wanted to go through the Arvin network, that's a wonderful way to sort of get it documented within your community and also within CARB.
Okay, that was my question.
Okay.
Thank you, Tim. Bye, everybody.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone. Good night.
Good night. And let us know if anyone has any questions about the 1099, if you're still here for that. Okay, I will end the live stream right now. Good night. Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Tanya, Diana.
Buenas noches. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.